India was pressured by the US. You need to stop those oil imports from Rosneft, from Lukoil. Stop refining that petroleum and selling it to the Europeans. Stop funding Putin's war chest. What do the Indians do? They say, not only are we going to continue importing Russian oil, we're also going to increase dramatically our coal imports from Russia, and we are going to drastically increase our liquefied natural gas imports from Russia. India intends to continue purchasing Russian oil despite new sanctions. Shocking. Just kidding. As you all know, the Trump administration employed new sanctions against Russia. These are very big ones. They targeted Rosneft and Lukoil, the two largest oil firms in Russia, and the two largest firms that China and India have been utilizing to facilitate the oil transfer, oil imports into their countries. China to utilize the oil themselves, India to refine it and sell it to the Europeans. Now, we discussed what was going on with China. I published the video of it today. China has already said, look, we don't take dictates from countries who enact unilateral sanctions upon us or our partners. They said it's not a UN Security Council sanction. This is not a unanimous consent thing. So we don't really care. This is a unilateral measure by the United States. We're going to continue to facilitate the import of Russian oil into our country. And as a precautionary measure, there is satellite footage and photos showing that China is utilizing shadow fleets, fleet-to-fleet, ship-to-ship transfer of this Russian oil to Chinese ships that are then brought back to the mainland. Okay, so China has made their position on this very clear. They are not going to play along with the demands of the unilateral demands of the United States, of the Trump administration on this. As for India, the country who is in all likelihood more susceptible to pressure from the United States, but I will say has not been susceptible to the threats that have been made by the Trump administration with the ever-long tariff war. In fact, they've gotten very close to Russia, very close to China even now. China, the Indians are they're becoming extremely close with China. I mean, this is the ramifications of Trump's predatory tariff war. I'm not even necessarily opposed to tariffs, but tying them to these foreign policy issues and utilizing them in this manner is this reciprocal measure. It's just not a punitive measure. It's not working in the way that tariffs are designed to work. And also, Trump doesn't have the long-term vision of doing what he claims he wants to do, reestablishing America as a manufacturing power in the world. So we'll leave that aside for a second. But India is more susceptible than China for many reasons to bend to the knee of the United States. They have an objectively closer relationship with the United States than China does. They have less leverage over the United States than China does. India is a, yes, larger country than China, but far weaker. And that's exactly by design of their, prior U.S., British handlers and neocolonialists. Okay. But what is so interesting about this story is that India has also not budged after these Russia sanctions on Lukoil and Rosneft. And the first bit of this I want to show you is India and Russia just signed a comprehensive agreement on the production of SJ-100 civilian aircraft. India says that they have needs for 200 of these SJ-100 civilian aircrafts over the next 10 years for domestic use. And they have the need for 300 of these civilian aircraft over the next 10, 15 years for international use. So this is a really major deal. These planes, they're Russian SJ-100s. These are going to be manufactured by a joint public stock company. I believe it's like Hindustan Airlines and whatever the Russian corporation, United Aircraft Corporations, the Russian corporation. They signed a memorandum of understanding for production of these civilian commuter aircraft in Moscow, Russia this week. And India will be producing these with Russian licenses in India. So this is a very big deal, and it's obviously a big FU to the United States, who is trying to pressure India over their relationship with Russia right now over oil imports. Because not just oil, we're also going to be producing Russian civilian aircraft in India, and they formed this joint company over this joint public stock. And, the pressure seems to not be really cooking India. Now, Russia has also stated that they are very keen on expanding energy exports to India. This was conveyed by Russian Minister Sergei Tsivilev told this to Russian media. The official said Russia is ready to offer India liquefied natural gas from both existing and future projects, given India's plans to raise the share of gas in its energy balance to 15%. The minister also noted that India is a major consumer of Russian coal and that Moscow plans to increase coal exports to the South Asian nation to 40 million tons by 2035. So Russia was pressured, India was pressured by the U.S. to say, you need to stop those oil imports from Rosneft, from Lukoil, stop refining that petroleum and selling it to the Europeans, stop funding Putin's war chest. And what do the Russians do? What do the Indians do? They say, not only are we going to continue importing Russian oil, we're also going to increase dramatically our coal imports from Russia, and we're going to drastically increase our liquefied natural gas imports from Russia. As for the oil, this is from Bloomberg, I believe. Let's crop this, make it a little bit better so you guys can see the full article here. India intends to continue purchasing Russian oil despite new sanctions. Shocking. Just kidding. Indian state-owned refineries are considering buying oil through smaller Russian traders who are not subject to restrictions. So a parent company of a parent company of a parent company, basically, to avoid the sanctions. This is the same thing that the Chinese do, right? You have a Chinese company that's labeled as like a foreign company on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. But if you look at the ownership of that company, you know, a little bit here, it's a state-owned enterprise. A little bit here, this company that owns this much stock is controlled by a company that's controlled by a company that's a state-owned enterprise. They're trying to, you get the idea. This is a way that countries like China, like Russia, can avoid sanctions, avoid tariffs, avoid things of this nature, okay? The industry acknowledges that the country is not ready to completely abandon Russian supplies. Go figure. They're making a lot of money off of it, and they have over the past few years, and Europe is still buying from India. India continues to balance the risk of secondary sanctions with the need to maintain energy ties with Moscow. State companies are awaiting official instructions, but agency sources note India plans to maintain the flow of Russian oil in any case, albeit through bypass schemes involving smaller suppliers and probably shadow fleets like China.